Well, week two's over, except for two games on Monday night, one of which we're assuming is going to be a complete blowout, and one that we're really looking forward to. But boy, has Sunday gotten interesting. All right, so here's what's going to happen. Here is what I'm going to try this week. Remember, these are the first couple weeks of the recap videos. And last week, if you remember, I did the 1 minute timer per team. I was going to try to give you a 1 minute snapshot of each team. If you're watching this and you have a team you want to know a little bit more information about, that's not enough. So I am changing it to 3 minutes per matchup. It's not going to be 90 seconds per team. Not every team deserves 90 seconds. Let's be honest. There's some games where the team that lost just didn't do anything. But we are going to look at 5 matchups in this video. I'm actually going to record both of them tonight. But we're going to look at 5 matchups in this video that were close or not close. But we're going to kind of delve in a little bit deeper, and it's a 6-minute timer for these matchups. I wanted to be able to do actual recaps. I love being able to recap the game, talk about what happened, kind of give some of the background of what was actually going on compared to what just the stat line says. So without further ado, we got our first one right here. Now, get the timer up. Where did it go? There it is. All right, here we go. Recap number 1. Listen, guys, I'm a Colts fan. You're going to deal with the whole long recaps in these games. Okay, guys, here's the simple fact. This game was ugly. But I do not want to start out talking about the Colts. Let's talk about Jacksonville. First of all, Doug Peterson, one of the best offseason coaching hires thus far. They should be 2-0. They outplayed Washington last week, and they dismantled the Colts. Absolutely dismantled the Colts. They did it methodically. A young team like this, it is hard to do a game like Jacksonville put together. Now, could the Colts be a lot worse than everybody else thought? It's possible. Shaq Leonard, which is a linebacker, let me be very clear. Shaq Leonard is a linebacker. One of the positions in the league that currently people really don't put a high value on because they don't really change the game, but they can make plays. We are without our top linebacker. If he comes back and plays against Kansas City and gets run out of the building because he can't run, it's going to be embarrassing for him. So honestly, I'm not looking forward to the Colts' next game against Kansas City at all. At all. But let's stay in Jacksonville for a second. Number 1, their defense. Their defense has now embarrassed the Colts 2 of the last 3 weeks of the regular season. The week last year to end the year, and then week 2 of this season, the Jacksonville Jaguar defensive front has embarrassed the offensive line for the Indianapolis Colts. To Jacksonville's credit, they are building something very, very special on defense in Jacksonville. I don't think their back end is still particularly strong, and I'll go over why I believe that once we get to the Colts summary here in a couple seconds. But Jacksonville's front 5, 4, and just everybody that's sitting in between the line of scrimmage, those trenches, everybody that's there. Walker was a great pickup. Allen is an amazing defensive end. Pressure all day. The defensive tackles are very good. If you watch the game, technique is hard to be able to master. Anytime Matt Ryan was throwing the football in front of them, their arms went up in the air. The batted balls, the tip balls, one tip ball ended up being an interception. It was actually the last interception that basically sealed any chance. It wasn't going to happen, but any chance of a comeback. It was just, it was that type of, I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars looked complete. So before we switch over, here we go. Let's get into some of the stats, because some of the stats are pretty impressive. Trevor Lawrence, 25 for 30. Only incomplete on 5 passes. That's horrible if you're the Colts defense. The running game, not really strong. So that's still a weakness for this Jacksonville team. A lot of it will hinge on what Trevor Lawrence can do. But he got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different receivers involved out of 25 completed passes. It's not bad. That's averaging only 3 catches per receiver off of that. That's pretty dang good. The distribution of the football was great by Lawrence, and the team looked good. Now the Colts. Okay, here we go. This may go over the 7 minutes. I don't care. You guys know this. Number one, our offensive line. We have an amazing left guard. We have a really good center. We have a really good right tackle. We have a left tackle and a right guard that are absolute trash. Throw them put them on the waiver wire, cut them now. When they get off the plane tonight, assumingly getting off the plane tonight, if they get off the plane, cut them. That was an embarrassment. You can tell the offensive line, you can tell currently Quentin Nelson on the left guard and Braden Smith, the right tackle, are trying to make up for what they know they don't have next to them. Braden Smith is trying to block 3 people at once because our right guard, Pinter, cannot block a dang person. He was blitzed 5 times. You know how many sacks they got? 3 off of those 5. Like, he was getting slaughtered. They're blitzing up the middle on that guard side because they know that right guard is so weak. The left tackle can't even win a one-on-one. So stone-footed. His feet, I swear, are in concrete blocks. Pryor ended up being out at the end of the game. Hopefully Raymond is in next week. Let's see what the rookie can do. He can't do any worse. He can't do any freaking worse. Now, why I said the Jacksonville secondary is still our receivers got no separation. We were without 2 of our 2 best receivers. We were without Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman Jr. That's fine. That's not an excuse. You're a wide receiver in the NFL. Act like it. They got no separation. Anytime Matt Ryan had to roll out, the guys were running into Jacksonville defenders, like making it easy for them to cover them. They just ran into them. Didn't run by them, just ran into them. It was like, oh, sorry, didn't see you there, buddy. Like, seriously. The Colts got down to the end zone with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, trying to do something. They got down there earlier in the fourth quarter, and nothing came of it. Like 2 fourth and goals, outs. 2 fourth and goal plays, out. Both of them inside the red zone, and they couldn't get in the end zone because the receivers could not help Matt Ryan. The running plays were bad. Once again, we're looking at this. So the stats, 16 of 30 for Matt Ryan, 195 yards. We didn't have enough plays because we kept dropped footballs all over the place. Taylor had 9 rushes for 54 yards. We had a couple nice throws. Matt Ryan's 3 interceptions. So the first interception, great play by the secondary. He undercut a route. Absolutely undercut a route on a deep out. He went around the receiver. So the receivers both going this way. He came from behind the receiver and undercut him. It was a beautiful play. Awesome play by the safety. I'm going to give him all the credit for reading that play. The break on the ball was perfect. He cut in front of the receiver without causing pass interference. It was a great play. I'm not going to take anything away from that one. Nothing at all. That was a beautifully done play. Ryan threw it to the spot. The Colts guy didn't lay out to get it, and the Jacksonville guy undercut him. That simple. The second interception, tipped, goes straight up into the air, into the arms of a waiting player. Just a waiting Jacksonville Jaguar player. Just basically catching the loaf of bread from the sky. Embarrassing. The other interception, Paris Campbell is running what was supposed to be a deep corner. The route tree, you could tell just by watching from the bird's eye view. You saw how the routes were going. You saw the combinations they were trying to do. Campbell was supposed to go 10 yards and immediately go corner, not out. He broke off the route. Ryan lobs a gorgeous ball to where Campbell's supposed to be. Campbell breaks it off, interception, it's overthrown. No, it wasn't. Campbell ran the wrong route. Campbell ran the 100% wrong route. The route tree was very clear. When you're watching the play above, you're never running an out with that route tree combination. You're never doing it. So there's the Colts versus Jaguars. Guys, 24-0. Jaguars over the Colts. It was embarrassing. Frank Reich, I have said this a couple times now, and we were actually talking to a couple guys tonight. Frank Reich is really looks old. Really looks old. His play calling isn't working because there's nothing new. Sean McVay, Andrew Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Doug Peterson beat him this week. Lovie Smith, for goodness sake. Pep Hamilton beat him last week. Pep Hamilton out-schemed Frank Reich last week. He's getting out-schemed. He's getting out-coached. Like, this looks like, I hate it, and I tweeted at Jim Irsay tonight, actually. I said, I've been watching the Colts for a long time. This team looks like that 6-10 Indianapolis Colts team under Jim Mora. It's time to fire Frank. Frank has had a good run. Like the guy, fine. It's time for new leadership because he's getting out-coached in today's current NFL schemes. He's getting out-coached, and it's embarrassing. We got shut out with all the tools that we have, with the ability we have. We couldn't even run the ball hard enough to get a touchdown. We didn't kick field goal. We did nothing today. It was embarrassing. All right, I know, guys. I gotta move on. I'm ticked. Indianapolis is hot right now. Downtown is on fire. Like, this is not good. All right, the second game I want to recap. Guys, check it out. The Giants are 2-0. I said this in my standings. If Daboll can fix Daniel Jones's turnover problem, they have a shot at potentially knocking on the door of, the wild card playoff, because their schedule kind of plays into their favor. Well, here you go. The Panthers last week, a lot of people thought they were going to beat the Browns. I picked the Browns. Browns knocked them off. This week, I picked the Giants to beat them. I think the Giants are a team that you got to worry about being scrappy. And the Giants looked really, really good as far as control. Here is something that is underrated, and I could have had this game as something else. We may not take up the whole 7 minutes with this game because there wasn't a ton that happened. But what I want, you coach the way the team is. So if you're the Giants, you're not overly strong on offensive line, but you're solid. You're 20th. You're between 17th and 20th ranked in offensive line. But your offensive line has a strength and ability that you need to be able to come off of. They are quick off the ball. They just get beat after the ball snapped. And you may be thinking, well, that's when the whole play takes place. No, they're not being beat in the first step. They're being beat in steps 3, 4, and 5. Steps 1 and 2, they're in front. So doing quick passes with Daniel Jones is working because the protection is very strong for the first 2 seconds of the snap, which matters. It means those defensive tackles aren't just swimming through and all of a sudden the hand's in the quarterback's face. It gives them a little bit better. The protection has been a lot better for Daniel Jones this year. Last week, Saquon Barkley just went off. And I like how their defense is set up. Give Brian Daboll credit. He's doing something Joe Judge couldn't do. He's winning, and he's winning the way the Giants, with the way they've built this team as of right now, and I know Daboll hasn't built this team, so I understand that. But they're winning the way that the team is built. Give him credit. They're 2-0. Potentially after tomorrow night, they're top in the division. And I know it's only week number 2. I get it. But who thought the Giants would even be a chance to be top in the division, be undefeated after the first 2 weeks? The way they've played, good for them. Good for them. And then Panthers. Listen, guys, Baker Mayfield is not going to be your quarterback of the future. You're now 0-2 against 2 teams that you needed to beat. You needed to beat them. Christian McCaffrey does not look great. He's had a lot of injuries, guys. I mean, let's just be honest. He's a running back with leg injuries. I don't like it for him. I think he still has some pop, but I don't think he can have the consistency. And you've got Baker Mayfield as your quarterback. He still looks indecisive. Yeah, he hasn't been turnover prone, which he never really was. But you lost to the Browns at home, and you lost to the Giants on the road when you had a shot to win, and you basically botched it. So, this is interesting. Look out for the Panthers. If they start losing, this is something. If they really lose, it sets them up to pick one of the quarterbacks next year. So at the same time, now I get this. Okay, let me be very clear. How does the owner look at this stuff? So let's put on our owner caps for just a second. You're watching your team struggle. You're not really sure if your coach is the right head coach. You've got 2 quarterbacks you're paying a bunch of money for right now, but both of them are no longer on the roster at the end of this year. If you're completely out of the playoff picture, your focus in your mind, it better not be publicly, we've already dealt with that with Miami, in your mind is going to be, okay, I know I'm firing the coach. I know I'm not bringing back either one of the quarterbacks. We're going to start fresh with a top 10 draft pick and draft one of these new quarterbacks, give a new coach his options to be able to play. We got cap space. We've got some receivers they can work with. We still got Christian McCaffrey. We got some tools for the new coach to work with. Let's see what happens. That may be where the Panthers end up. It really may. It may be exactly where the Panthers end up. They're 0-2 now. They're not looking great. The offense looks really sluggish. Even in the scoring I told you guys last week, the way they scored against the Browns, it didn't look great. The offense looks worse. I mean, the offense looks bad. I mean, they've scored more points than the Colts, so there's that. But you gotta start doing something. You gotta start doing something. That coach is on the hot seat. I like Matt Rule. And let's be very clear. If Matt Rule were fired from Carolina, Nebraska would offer him the head coaching job in a heartbeat. He'd be back in college really, really fast. So don't feel bad for Matt Rule. He's still going to be a head coach. He just may be one that's designed only for college football. So there's that game. All right, let's get rid of this. And then we're going to go on to the recap number 3, because this game was epic, guys. This was one of my games to watch, and it did not disappoint. The problem with this game, and I'm going to take the whole 7 minutes. I kind of caught everything up here. I'm going to take the whole 7 minutes on this because if you're a Baltimore Raven fan, you're mad. And you have every right to be mad. You had this game won. And what happened? Again, what happened? The defense got lazy in coverage because you didn't think they could come back. Listen, you cannot. This is something I gripe about all the time. I see this in college football because there's showmanship. I'm sorry, I hate showmanship on a college in football when the second half just started. Okay? You're winning. You're beating them. It is the third quarter. You blitz and blitz and blitz and blitz and blitz. You do not give them time. Listen, they went into a prevent defense. The defense did not attack as much. It got sloppy in coverage. They weren't really worried about the Dolphins coming back. I will be the first one. Huge credit to the Dolphins. They are now 2-0. 2-0. I did have them winning last week. This week I had them losing. So they've got one more win than I originally thought they were going to have as of right now. And it was a big win. I said, if you remember Saturday, I said, this is the win. They need this game to show where they're at. Listen, they kept fighting. Give Coach McDaniel credit. Brian Daboll in New York, Mike McDaniel here in Miami. Great job to both of them. Both of them have their teams brand new, just took them over at 2-0 in divisions where they are not the number one team, but both of them look like they could be the second. They could be the second place team. So look at, gotta give Miami a lot of credit. The ending of the game was fantastic. Baltimore had to settle for a field goal with less than 2 minutes to go. Miami comes roaring back down the field. Actually, I think it was with more than 2 minutes to go. Sorry. I was watching the end of it after the games had all switched around because we had a bunch of games that had played. Colts and Jaguars got over so early. I watched the end of the Steelers game, the Dolphin game. I had a bunch of games they ended up watching the ends of. But credit to Miami. They fought hard. They stayed in it. But Baltimore, you screwed up. You gave up, and you gave the game away. Just gave the game. I mean, listen to these stats. Guys, this is for all of you fantasy people out here. And even you non-fantasy people, okay, you're going to understand what these stats are. The score is 42-38. 42-38. Tua Tagovailoa, 36 of 50, 469 yards with 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I am not kidding you. He had 2 receivers over 150 plus receiving yards. Both of them had 2 receiving touchdowns. Both of them caught 11 passes. So 22 of his 36 were completed to 2 players. Now, Lamar Jackson, 21 of 29, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He ran the ball 9 times for 120 yards and a touchdown. Both of these quarterbacks put on a complete clinic. Okay. Here's what the fourth quarter scoring looked like. Touchdown pass with 12 left in the game, Miami. Touchdown pass with 7:47 left in the game, Miami. Touchdown pass with 5:19 left in the game, Miami. Justin Tucker kicked the field goal, 51-yarder, made it, 2:18 left. Miami scores a touchdown with 14 seconds left in the game. In the fourth quarter alone, just the fourth quarter, guys. The fourth quarter alone, Miami outscored them so heavily, 28-3. 28-3. I don't know what else to say. You let up 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter because you went to a prevent defense. You guys were up 35-14 heading into the fourth quarter. How in the world do you guys let them come back? I don't know how. Ravens fans are mad. They have every right to be mad. They should have won that game 100%. No lie. I get it. I agree with it. I mean, I fully agree with it. But good grief. Good grief. What a game. What a game. No defense at the end of the game. No, it's never stopped them. You can't let up. Showmanship is... I'm so tired. Sometimes I wonder. It's the same thing I have the problem with the penalties on the quarterbacks. You watch defensive linemen and defensive tackles and linebackers. They will get to the quarterback. They'll start sacking him. And because they're afraid of getting a roughing the passer penalty, they'll let him go thinking that the ref is going to blow the whistle. and then the ref doesn't blow the whistle, and it's a 10-yard pass downfield. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. This is the same concept. You let off the gas before the fourth quarter was even halfway through. Listen, if you're up, even if you're up 35-14 with 5 minutes left, you press. You may not blitz because you don't want anybody getting injured, and I get that. I fully get that. Do not misunderstand me. We're talking about a whole entire quarter is left, and they let the Dolphins go score, went safe with their offense, and that was it. Like, come on. This is football. Play it 60 minutes. All right, guys. That is that game. Here we go. Next game, Bengals Cowboys. I don't even know what to say. Once again, the Super Bowl loser. Let's attack this from the Bengals side first, guys. Let's attack this from the Bengals side first. The Bengals have a big disadvantage. And what is that disadvantage? Very simple. The disadvantage is 150%. Basically, it's 150% the youth. The youth gives them a huge disadvantage. So they've got a sophomore slump going on at the same time they got a Super Bowl hangover going on. Think about that for a second. They got a sophomore slump and a Super Bowl hangover in the same year. They've lost their first 2 games by 6 points, 2 field goals. I'm just going to jump into the stats because if you read the stat line, you can kind of tell just what's going on. The offensive line, I said last week, you're going to have to give it time to mesh. Well, it really looks like that. Joe Burrow, 24-36, only 99 yards passing and a touchdown. So no interceptions. But the running game of which is needed to keep everything mellow, 19 rushes for 57 yards for Joe Mixon. He needs to average well over. I mean, that's less than, it's about 3 yards a carry. Just a little bit over. He needs to be averaging well over 3 yards a carry. He's got to be up at least at the 3.5 to 3.8 on a low day. He needs to be at 19 rushes for 71 yards, 75 yards, something like that. The way that it's set up right now, last week wasn't good either. The offensive line is still trying to gel, still trying to mesh. You got to be patient. I know these are 2 games that I had them both winning. Even with Dak Prescott, I had the Bengals winning this game. But their offensive firepower isn't there. And maybe the Super Bowl slump is once again going to bite the Super Bowl loser in the butt. I don't know. I feel bad for Bengal fans. The team is set up. The team looks good. But it's another team that's underachieving so far this year. So maybe this is going to be the year where we don't really see good football till October. I mean, I'll get to the rest of the games in that next video, like I said, but let's just think about this. Maybe we're not going to see great football until October. Could the preseason, now here's a thought, and it's not a good thought. I don't like this thought, because if this is what's happening, because last year we had a little bit of a dull early as well, if you remember. If this is what's happening, we have only 3 preseason games. We have multiple teams never playing a starter. Multiple teams will never play a starter. Is this the repercussions of that? Is this the repercussions of not having hard enough practices to get ready to play football? Is this what it is? You got to ask yourself. We don't have I mean, you got quarterbacks that are making plays. Josh Allen, blew up the Rams last week. They were ready to play. They were on Thursday Night Football. They were opening. The energy's high. I mean, they've been real well rested. Now they got a Monday Night Football game. I'm excited to see them tomorrow, and I think they're going to roll. But is the changing of the preseason games and the mindset now giving us, in a sense, bad football in the first 3 weeks, 4 weeks of the year? Is this what's happening? You got to ask yourself that question, because the Bengals should have beat the Cowboys 150%. Cooper Rush, let's look at the other side. Now, remember, the Bengals offense, was sputtering, but look at the Cowboys. You got 19 to 31 for Cooper Rush, 235 with the touchdown. Running backs, Tony Pollard had a good day. Ezekiel Elliott basically averaged, 3.3 yards per carry. Nothing fantastic, nothing outrageously special. Only 5 receivers caught a football. I mean, really, guys, this is just what's here. This is exactly what is here. But this is the fourth quarter. Basically came down to the Cowboys got the ball. Cooper Rush got him down the field and won the game for the Brett Maher, which a lot of people have, in Dallas don't like him as a kicker. Give him credit. He made a 50-yarder to win the game, 20-17. So good for the Cowboys. Congratulations. You're not 0-2 to start the year. This is a win I didn't think you were going to have. It's a win a lot of people didn't think you were going to have. That's good for you. Congratulations. Your season outlook looks like you're going to be a wild card team. If you can, you just got a W you shouldn't have gotten. So looks good. Cincinnati, I mean, you're in a crowded AFC North. You're all 1-1 now. You're all 1-1. We'll get into the Browns game in the next video. Browns should be 2-0. They're another team like the Ravens. They're just going to shoot themselves in the foot. And they're really going to hate tape day. And they won't have that happen again. Because one mistake by Jacoby Brissett did not change that game. The defense just couldn't play long enough. The defense did not shut enough down, and the Browns should have beaten the Jets. But we'll get into that recap in the next video. Bengals, though, I mean, you're 0-2. Steelers are 1-1. Ravens are 1-1 now. Browns are 1-1, so you're not out of it, but it doesn't look good. The optics don't look good for Cincinnati. Another team that is underachieving. Just no other way to put it. Another team that is underachieving. So that is the recap for that game. Fun game to watch. It was a great game for the afternoon. Kind of boring, really, if you're watching it for a lot of different things to happen. Nothing looks crisp. None of the offenses really look crisp right now, and that's the big issue to me. All right, the game that closed the afternoon out. Let's talk about this for the full 7 minutes, because this is, wow, what a game. What a game. The Las Vegas Raiders are home. They're controlling everything. They're up by 8 points, 23-15. The Arizona Cardinals get down, and it is 4th and goal. 4th and goal. From like the 7 or 8 yard line. They get pressure on the Las Vegas Raiders get pressure on Murray. This is to end the fourth quarter. They get pressure on Murray, flush him out of the pocket. I mean, he makes he gets out of 2-3 tackles, starts scrambling around, throws the ball, it's incomplete. There is a holding penalty on Las Vegas before Kyler Murray started doing a bunch of scrambling around. Now, why did I mention that? Because something that they're looking at in the rules, from what I have read and a couple things I have watched, is changing how pass interference is interpreted. interpreted, when the quarterback is scrambling. So, like, what happens on plays that break down, and you see it all the time, is receivers will stop. And if the receiver stops, you can't call illegal contact because the receiver's not watching where he's going either. Remember, the defensive back still, no matter what, still has the rights to where he's standing. I mean, it's a very small space, but he still has the rights to where he's standing. So what the competition committee is trying to figure out is, where's the line on, is it pass interference? Is it not? Because the receivers will get away with pushing off when the quarterback's rolling out all the time, or just running over the defensive back. Like, it happens all the time, and it's not caught because the eyes are all focused on so many other things. Where the offensive line is the offensive line holding? Is the offensive line blocking in the back? Where's the linebackers? What's happening? Is the quarterback going to run? And we got to worry about a late hit on the quarterback. There's so many different things for the refs and the umps to watch, that you see it all the time in a play that breaks down. Is the receivers and defensive backs are almost basically hugging each other until one starts breaking, and inevitably your natural reaction when somebody's running away from you is going to be to grab onto them. Is that holding? That's what they're going over. This was not, I go through all that to say this was not that scenario. It was before Kyler Murray ran off. It was a holding penalty, no matter how badly it hurts the Raiders to hear. They stop the Cardinals. Stop the Cardinals. First and goal, second and goal, third and goal. Straight incompletions. Fourth and goal, Kyler Murray I don't know why they didn't have a spy on Kyler. I don't know why. He was way too off to the side. If the linebacker that I think potentially was, he was sitting way too far to the side. Kyler basically, the linebacker's sitting, if you're looking straight at a clock, the linebacker is like at 130. All Kyler does is go 930 and run into the end zone. He was only a couple yards away anyway. So Murray makes a play. Now they got to go for two. This is where I don't know how to call everything. AJ Green, I love AJ Green. But if you're honest, watching the bird's eye view, it was offensive pass interference. He leaned into the defensive back, used his body, so great technique. It's what they teach you. Great technique, didn't really use his hands. He uses his body to get the separation on a straight cross route. It's basically a out route, but in the middle of the field. Like, he's doing a straight up and cut straight across the back of the end zone line. Kyler gets in a little bit of trouble. AJ has to stop, moves across the field. Beautiful strike from Kyler Murray. It was a beautifully thrown ball. AJ catches it. We're tied 25-25. Cardinals can't do anything. On their drive, the Raiders get the ball and they're driving. They're looking like they're going to win. 4 minutes left in overtime. This is looking good. The offense is okay. They just got to keep the ball, get basically 10 more yards, and they're in relatively comfortable field goal range. And if they're not, there's a pretty good chance they could tie this game at this point and end in a tie. The Arizona Cardinals defense comes up. Hunter Renfrow catches a ball in the flat, makes a guy miss, makes another guy miss, gets hit by a third guy, and fumbles the ball. Arizona picks it up, runs it all the way back down to the other end zone for a touchdown to close the game. Arizona gets out of Las Vegas with a W that they should not have gotten, but they are now 1-1 instead of 0-2. They were staring 0-2 in the face and looking at a really hard year. I said, if they don't get these wins, they can be out of the playoff picture really quick. They don't look good. Kyler Murray already looks tired. Now, I know he played a full game, but he looks so tired. He doesn't look in shape right now. He looks bigger. He looks slower. He doesn't look in as good of shape. This offense does not look good at all. I don't care if they don't have DeAndre Hopkins. They got weapons that they can use. They got to do something. They got a W. It was a hard fought W. Good for them. They pulled it out. 29-23. But they got lucky. They got lucky. And the Oakland Raider defense, for all of the issues they have, they held up for seven goal to go plays and only missed on the last 4th and goal. That is heartbreaking for a defense. They played so well, and the penalty basically gave the Cardinals the opportunity to get the win. And they still held them to 3 incompletions after that before Kyler ran it in. What a game. What a game. All right, guys, that is 5 games. That is 5 games. In my next video, I believe Sunday Night Football will be over by the time I record it. So in the next video, I will recap the other 9 a little bit faster, a little bit quicker per matchup, kind of just give you the stats. But those are the 5 that I wanted to hit because they got either some surprises. The Colts are going to be a big recap video every week. It's my team, guys. That's it. And then 4 other games that really were just fun to watch. This game came down to the wire. Congratulations to the Cardinals. You got the W and you did your job. Raiders are now 0-2. It's a little bit. They're a little bit like the Bengals right now. They're 0-2. They're good enough to be 2-0, and they're not. First year coach. Problem is, I'm sorry, Brian Daboll and Mike McDaniel in Miami and the Giant in New York right now are kind of throwing out that whole first year coach problem things, especially when you've got Devontae Adams, Derek Carr, and the weapons the Raiders do. You got to win. You got to win. And there's quite a few teams that don't look like they're going to get a win, and some teams that they got to keep fighting, and they'll get there. But that is going to be it for this recap video right here. Check out tomorrow's video as well. Do not forget to subscribe, like the video for me to help get the algorithms to go up. I did find out where I was on a couple different pages with the tags for one of the videos that had higher views, and I appreciate you guys stopping by. Appreciate you guys watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow for another recap video, which means I'm going to put out 4 this week, and I may be putting out 4 every week. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But guys, that's going to be it for this one. Till next time, wings up, hawk out, football on.